Start recording now. Excellent. Well, thank you everybody for coming along. This is a presentation on digital tools for humanities, arts and social science research. And I'm Mary Filsell from the ARDC. And I'm very pleased that you've come to join me today. We may have a few more people joining us. I can see a few more people coming in as well. So thanks everyone for coming along today. Excellent. And just before we get completely started, I'd just like to do an acknowledgement of country. So before we start, I'd just like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the traditional owners of country on whose lands we are meeting today. And I'd like to acknowledge all traditional custodians of the country and waters that we meet on today and pay my respects to elders past and present. And I'd like to extend this respect to all Indigenous peoples joining us here online today as well. And I'd love to acknowledge the deep and ongoing connection to country shared across Indigenous Australia. And myself, I am a white settler person and I live and work on Kaurna country where the local greeting is Nina Mani. So Nina Mani, everyone. And it's an honour to be joining you here today online. If you'd like to just add into the chat where you're joining from or the country you're joining from, please do. Please feel very welcome to do that. Okay, so a little bit of housekeeping before we progress too much further. So this session is being recorded, hopefully. Hopefully it's recording there. And I'd like you to keep your questions at the end, and we should have some time at the end for some Q&A as well. So I'll send a copy of the recording when it's ready to everyone that's registered. Oh, and I might just ask you just to keep your mics muted as we go through as well. So thank you so much. And I'll also send you a copy of my slides for your reference as well. So, okay, fantastic. All right, so today we're going to talk about ARDC pages for HASS research, for humanities, arts and social sciences research. We'll look at some free tools, platforms and services. We'll also look at tools from the Language Data Commons of Australia. We often speak a lot of the acronyms at ARDC, so you'll probably find that I may call it LDACA as we go through. So if you hear me say LDACA, you'll know I'm speaking about the Language Data Commons of Australia. We'll also talk about a few ways to keep up to date and ways to participate with us, and we'll wrap it up at the end. Excellent. Righto, so a little bit about the ARDC or the Australian Research Data Commons. So if you're a researcher or a professional supporting researchers, a research professional, the ARDC is here to help you. So we connect you with trusted tools and data and infrastructure so that you can focus on what matters most, doing and supporting fantastic research in Australia that makes a difference. Okay, so we're called the Australian Research Data Commons, and you may be asking yourself, well, that's nice, Mary, but what is a research data commons? And so a research data commons brings together people and skills and data and related resources such as storage and compute and software and models. And all of these are there to enable researchers to conduct world-class data-intensive research. And people are at the absolute centre of all that we do. So I must say thank you so much to all the people here who've joined us for this presentation. This presentation wouldn't have happened without you. So thank you so much for coming along, and hopefully this will be a useful set of information and tools and services for you and your research and your support of research. Okay, so our strategy, essentially we're here to give you a competitive advantage through data, and we want to do that by connecting you with trusted data, digital tools, platforms and infrastructure so that you can focus on what matters the most, which is doing great, which is doing and supporting like fantastic research that makes a difference in Australia. And we do this through our thematic research data commons. So we have, you can see our three research data commons is here on the screen. So we have the people research data commons for health and medical research, you can see this nice green river and forest and looks like mangroves actually there for the Planet Research Data Commons, and that is for earth and environmental and geosciences kind of research. And today I'm here to talk to you about the digital tools for research that we have available through the HASS and Indigenous Research Data Commons. So I'm just going to do a quick little overview for you of the FAIR and CARE principles. You may already be familiar with these principles, or this may be the first time that you're seeing them. So the FAIR and CARE principles are important to us at ARDC because they underpin everything that we do. So FAIR, you may already know, is quite well known, being findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. And in the context of the rise of these FAIR principles in the community of international data and infrastructure, GIDA, the Global Indigenous Data Alliance, formulated the CARE principles to address a clear deficit in FAIR, so findable, accessible, interoperable, reusable, regarding Indigenous people's rights and interests. So FAIR, you can see here the acronym for collective benefits, and that's realized by data systems and ecosystems being designed and functioning in ways that enable Indigenous people to derive benefit from the data. The authority to control, so this is all about Indigenous people's rights and interests in Indigenous data being recognised, and the authority to control such data being empowered. Responsibility. This is all about those working with Indigenous data and their responsibility to share how those data are used to support Indigenous people's self-determination and collective benefit. And also ethics, which is Indigenous people's rights and well-being should be the primary concern at all stages of the research data lifecycle and all across the data ecosystem. So when we think about it, the CARE principles are a really lovely complement to the existing FAIR principles. And while the FAIR principles are about making it easier to find and share and reuse data, the CARE principles ensure that data is used ethically and with appropriate governance. And so we also recognise that when translating the FAIR and CARE principles into practice, this may also vary for each discipline. Okay, so here we are. We've made it now to the Humanities, Arts, Social Sciences and Indigenous Research Data Commons. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the HASS and Indigenous Research Data Commons. But before I do, I'd just like to acknowledge the fantastic iconography you can see here, this orange and black symbols. This is by the artist Dylan Sara. So we have permission to use Dylan Sara's work for these sorts of presentations that we do here at the ARDC. And we just like, because I will be sharing the slides at the end of this, so we do ask that you don't reshare the imagery. But if you would like to use this imagery, or if you would like to get in touch with Dylan Sara and get some of your own iconography and images and work created, you can access Dylan Sara's website. He has a fantastic website, and he's a fantastic Gurung man from the Queensland area. So if you'd like to get in touch with Dylan and use some of those icons, get your own made, I'm sure Dylan would love to hear from you. So I'll continue on now as well. So in 2023, the ARDC-led HASS and Indigenous Research Data Commons received one of the largest ever investments in HASS infrastructure in Australia. So it was $25 million. And that grant from the Australian government's NCRIS, or National Collaborative Research Infrastructure Strategy, that funding round, along with co-investment from our national partners, has grown this amount to about 48 million. And this incredible amount of money is what we're investing and enabling to continue to deliver long-term and enduring national research digital infrastructure to support HASS researchers and Indigenous researchers in Australia. So that's what we're doing with it. So our RDC houses both HASS and Indigenous research infrastructure. And it's important to note that while we're the HASS and Indigenous RDC, Indigenous data doesn't just come from HASS. And there is Indigenous data in health and medical data, and Indigenous data in earth and ecology data. So in those other RDCs like People and Planet and HASS and Indigenous data is available across all of those areas as well. So so it's a really great thing just to think and recognise that. But one of the great benefits of our RDC hosting and housing both HASS and also Indigenous research infrastructure is that it really helps the ARDC in bringing an Indigenous data governance focus across our work. Mhm. All right, so here we can see the focus areas again of the HASS and Indigenous Research Data Commons. So we can see improving Indigenous research capabilities as one focus area. Today I'm going to be talking to you a bit more about some of the tools and services that are available within the Language Data Commons of Australia. So not even the whole of the Language Data Commons of Australia, but just a deep dive into some of those tools and services that will be coming up soon. Another focus area is the Social Science Research Infrastructure Network for social science research. We have our connection section, and that includes great things like the Community Data Lab, the Summer School, the Indigenous Masterclass, Indigenous Data Masterclass, and also our symposium. And we will I'll have some other information about those great connections later on in this presentation. The other two focus areas are the Australian Internet Observatory and the Australian Creative Histories and Futures. So it's a really quite a large research data commons that covers a lot of areas. And that concludes our overview of the ARDC and the thematic research data commons. And now I'd like to tell you more about our curated pages for HASS research. So this is the main reason you've come along today, but thank you so much for listening to that contextual information first. So this is something, if you'd like to, you can even follow along by opening up another web browser window or looking on your own device. And if you go to the ARDC website, you'll see on almost every page of our ARDC website, you can see this little purple tab up in that corner. It'll look a little bit different on your device, but it'll still be a purple tab. You can navigate back to that spot from almost any page, not it's most of the pages, but almost any page on the ARDC website. So if you're ever having a bit of a browse and you think, I think I might go and have a bit of a look at what Mary was talking about when I went to that webinar. So you can always go back to that, to the resources for researchers via that little purple tab. So I'm hoping that you remember that from this presentation. And the other thing I'd also like you to remember from the presentation is looking at this Accelerate Your HASS Indigenous Research. So if you follow through to that purple tab, scroll down a bit, you'll see there's three different portals. This is the HASS and Indigenous Research portal that'll take you to this curated sets of data and tools and services for HASS research. So this is this one, this gold themed one that'll take you there then. And you can also see that little purple tab is still there. This is a screenshot from the ARDC website. Okay, so if you go in there and have a bit of a look and scroll down, you'll be able to see that we have an amazing set of free tools for HASS and Indigenous research. So we have all sorts of tiles there. So each one of these little grey boxes is a tile. And if you click on one of those tiles, you can see there's that little opens in a new window box has come up there, that little tool over. That'll take you through to not just one particular tool or service, it'll take you through to a whole lot of really great things. There could be multiple tools, all sorts of things, really exciting stuff for you there. And we have all sorts of things on there. So Orin is there for doing research with geographic information science. You've got the Australian Cultural Data Engine, which is a really great thing you should have a bit of a look at. You've got the Australian Internet Observatory, which is one of our focus areas. So there's a whole lot in there. There's projects, tools, services, and much, much more. You can see one of the tools there, tiles there, I should say, is the GLAM workbench. And that is fantastic if you do research with Trove data. It'll take you from improving your just the way that you search with Trove all the way through to using the API and creating your own data sets and much, much more. There's another great thing I like to bring your attention to, which is the Indigenous Data Network Catalogue project. That is fantastic if you're working with Indigenous data governance. We won't look at that tool in particular today. However, I do recommend that you go back and have a look either when you're reviewing the slides or if you just like to have a bit of a scroll while we're here for this presentation as well. Excellent, fantastic. All right, so we have so many tools and services that don't actually fit on one page. So here we go. There's some more here. And you can see I've placed a little love heart there. So that's a bit of a clue because that's what I'm going to be talking to you about next. But here we can see there's more tools. There's also the time layered cultural map there, which is great. More tools for working with Trove. You can even do some machine learning. So this is something that if you've got some time later on, really recommend you have a nice cup of tea and a bit of an explore. There's so much there that we just love you to have a look. But again, today I'm just going to go into a little bit more detail on these sections. I put my little love heart there on the language technology and data analysis laboratory tools called LADAL. They're fantastic. So we're going to go there. That little love heart when you're reviewing the slides later will help you remember what we talked about today as well. So you won't see that love heart on the actual website, but that's there. Also because I love the tools. So I'll share those slides with you later on. Okay, so yes, so if you see those ones there. Okay, so if you were to click on the Ladau fantastic tile there, it will take you through to something that looks a bit like this. So I've chopped a bit off of the web pages and placed them together to create this slide. It'll look similar to this, but this is just to so you can recognize some of the iconography. So the Ladau tools and text analysis are part of the Language Data Commons of Australia. And the Data Commons of Australia, or LDACA, data portal makes language data findable and accessible for all sorts of researchers and communities. And the LADAL, which you can find on the LDACA portal, provides programmatic interfaces, training materials, access to great cloud computing services for researchers to develop their own text analysis as standalone and publishable digital research outputs. So you can work with a lot of these LADAL tools and create research objects which are publishable and reusable, which is great. So the LADAL website is a set of free and open source tools and resources for digital and computational humanities. And LADAL was established in 2019 by the School of Languages at the University of Queensland. And this great initiative was led by Dr. Martin Schweinberger. So I really wanted to acknowledge the work of Dr. Martin Schweinberger, and we're very proud that he's still working with us with LADAL and with LDACA as well. So that's really fantastic. So LADAL aims at assisting anyone interested in working with language data in matters relating to data processing, visualization, and analysis, and offers guidance on matters relating to language technology and digital research tools. And LADAL offers introductions to all sorts of topics and concepts related to digital and computational humanities, online tutorials. There's great Jupyter notebooks. We'll talk about those a bit more, and much, much more. So LADAL tools can be used by anyone working with text-based research and in any discipline, which is fantastic. So you don't need to be a language researcher to work with the Language Data Commons tools at all. Well, you can as well. So that's a great advantage if you are a linguist. But if you're not, these tools are designed for you to work with the written word or just, with text. So with your text-based research. So it's part of the Language Data Commons, and it provides a great notebook environment and a tool set that's really great, and it's great and customizable, and it's very accessible to a large amount of researchers who may not actually have strong coding skills, or for people that may not want to do a bit of a side quest to learn programming or the coding skills on their own. But they just want to do some research straight away with programmatic techniques, which I think is absolutely fabulous. Okay, so this actually is a screenshot. So I took this screenshot a little while ago, and this is very much what you'll see when you've gone into that tile and you're looking at LADAL. So you can see that there. This particular view is from the Tools tab. So you can see it's not a love heart this time, it's a triangle. So when you see the little added red triangle there, that'll take you to the same view that you can see on this particular slide. And you can see these are some of the tools that are available for you, ready to use right now. You can start using them this very second if you would like to. So what are the tools that you can access in Ladau and what do they do? So these are text analysis tools and text analysis offers all sorts of ways to look at the structure of text with the help of some computational methods. So Ladau Group, they're really fantastic. So they've created tools available in ready-made Jupyter notebooks that, oh, sorry, excuse me, that let researchers explore and analyze large amounts of text, like books or articles, or lots of books and articles, or hundreds of books and articles and historical documents. And you don't actually need to know how to program or code. So these notebooks, they look a little bit like, it's a little bit like working with a PDF. And it's got like built-in steps and examples, so you can focus on exploring the text rather than learning like a language. So yeah, they're fantastic. They're a lot like a PDF, and they've got little cells in them that will run the programming language, and it's almost like a recipe. So you follow the recipe, you can run the section, you can keep going and learn as you go, and it will instruct and help you use the tool without you needing to actually create that programming from scratch, which is really great. So let's have a bit of a look. So, well, before we do that, on the left-hand side of that slide, you can see it says on the page an overview. You can see a list of those tools. So these are some of the tools you can use. So concordancing, co-locations, keywords, part of text, tagging, corpus text cleaning, network analysis, topic modeling, sentiment analysis, and we'll just look at a handful of these. We won't go through all of them today, but I do recommend that you have a look in your own time, or maybe when you're reviewing the slides as well. Okay, so we're going to have a look at concordancing. So this is pretty exciting. So you can see that keyword in the middle there. You can see Alice. And the word Alice is mentioned quite a few times there. So it's quite exciting. So this example shows the first 6 instances of the appearance of the word Alice, or the name Alice, I should say, in Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland. So we can see it there. So we can see the words before Alice and the words after Alice. So that's pretty exciting because you can see the word, the name Alice, within context and of where it is in the text without having to go through and manually finding each time the word Alice appears. So you can run through and do this in a computational way. So yeah, so it discovers every instance of a word or phrase in your body of text, along with its surrounding context, to support close reading and discourse analysis. So it can aid you in your reading practice, and it can also show you all sorts of really, really interesting things. So we can see here, yeah, down the rabbit hole, Alice was beginning to get very. So we can see 4 words surrounding the word Alice there. So another example besides this Alice in Wonderland example that you might want to use it for is if you're doing like some linguistics or maybe some history research, you might want to use a tool such as concordancing to examine maybe how the word progress is used in 20th century Australian political speeches, maybe. And you can imagine when you're starting to look at that, you might start to reveal within that text or a series of texts or multiple texts what the context of that word is. So you might start to find somehow ideas and things have developed, including things like concepts like nation building and all of those wonderful things, and how they were framed over time. So it's quite exciting what you can do with this tool. But that's just one tool. We have a few more to have a look at. So this one is a keyword tool. And this tool helps you show how keywords or words in particular are over or underrepresented in text that you provide to the notebook. So you can look at representation compared to a chosen reference text topic. You can do all sorts of things. And you can use the keywords tool to highlight words that occur significantly more often in one set of text, or they do more often in one than another. And you start to see what makes a discourse or a body of text really distinctive, or a set of text distinctive. So an example of how you might want to use this is that if you're doing something like maybe some gender studies research, you might have a look at some speeches by male versus female members of Parliament in the Australian Parliament to identify keywords that differentiate the way that they use language, or maybe the way that their policy is focused, or even a rhetorical kind of style. So there's all sorts of things that you can do and you can use to actually help enhance and work with your research. But one really great thing about this particular slide is that you can also see the Jupyter Notebook environment in this slide. So you can see that on the right. And that includes a really great link to the tutorial on how to use the tool. And that's embedded right in the notebook for ready access. So if you later on after this webinar, you head along and you open up and you just think, I'm going to give this Jupyter notebook a go. And you get in there and you just think, actually, I think I do need a tutorial. It's embedded right there in the notebook for you. So you can get right in there and you can see it there under where it says keyword tool. You can see in that blue hyperlink there. And you can go right in there and it will help you. Whoops, I went ahead one. Sorry about that. Oh, I did it again. You can go right in there to that tutorial and you can be guided through step by step how to use the notebook. So yeah, absolutely fantastic. All right, let's go to that next slide because I think the slide wanted to go there. So this is a fantastic, another tool. This is the last tool that we'll talk about in this group of tools. So this is a network analysis tool, and it has one of the most beautiful graphics. I mean, I love the graphic. It's called a Quantender network, which I think is a great name, as well as a really lovely graphic. And so what this network analysis tool does is it maps relationships amongst entities, and they could be people or places or organizations that are mentioned in text. And that allows like researchers to explore connections and influence within a text or a set of texts or multiple texts or just the one. In this particular example here that we can see on the screen, this is a great part of, like, we can see. Oh, I'll just start again. This example is an example using Romeo and Juliet, and you can see the creation of this matrix actually shows the characters that are present within a sub-scene of Romeo and Juliet. So yeah, this is a lovely visualization network, and you can create one of these. It sort of shows that relationship between the characters. So it's fantastic. Another thing you could possibly use it for is showing sort of you could do like a network analysis to do a bit more of a historian or historical kind of analysis to look at relationships between an Australian example could be like artists and patrons and institutions in the arts within digitized letters from something like the Heidelberg School movement. You can have a look and see who knows who and how they're related to who over time, over a great series of letters. So that could be another way to use it. But it's up to you. There's many ways to use these tools. And yes, and I hope you find them really interesting and fun to use. And this particular image was taken from one of those tutorials that's embedded in the notebook that we mentioned earlier. So this one comes from the Language, Technology and Data Analysis Laboratory, or LADAL, tutorial network analysis using R, which is great. Okay, so, oh, and you can see, yes, all of these images are taken from that tutorial. All right, so what powers these Jupyter notebooks and all of the digital tools and services that we have at the ARDC? Well, the Nectar Research Cloud is Australia's national research cloud, and it's specifically designed for research computing and ARDC services and platforms and much, much more across the ARDC. It's all powered by Nectar. So it was originally launched in 2012 and it provides Australia's research community with fast, interactive and self-service access to large-scale computing, infrastructure, software and data. And it's a really great, powerful platform for collaboration and it allows Australian researchers and research support staff to access compute resources, software and data from offices and homes and easily share them with collaborators at other institutions as well. And so we have a number of services which can be used with Nectar. And these include the virtual desktop service, so you can make yourself a powerful virtual desktop up in the cloud, which is great. The Jupyter Notebook service, so those notebooks that we've been talking about for those LADAL tools, they're accessible via the Jupyter Notebook service. National GPU service, so if you would like to use much stronger compute, you can get in touch with the Nectar team and have a chat about that. Kubernetes for containerization And the Binder Hub service, when you're working with lots of Jupyter notebooks, you might want to create an interlocked and interlinked set of fantastic notebooks which carry you through a number of really fantastic workflows. So you can do so much with the Nectar Research Cloud. And if you hold an ARC or other merit-based grant, please get in touch, because there's a lot of things that you can use through Nectar for free in those particular circumstances. So if you're interested in that, get in touch with us after the webinar and we'd be happy to discuss that with you more. Okay, and if you need some data, you can bring your own data into all of our fantastic tools and services, but you may want to use some of the data sets that we've curated here for you. So there's things like, if you look at these tiles, you can use these to dive straight into these portals to access data. So ACME is the Australian Centre for the Moving Image, so you can get films, screen culture material, there's games, there's all sorts of stuff in there. And that's been acquired since the 1940s, which is very exciting. You could do things like looking at the OSLI information with the free independent access to Australasian law and other full text databases of Australian decisions and legislation. We have the Australian Digital Observatory, which you can go into and use, which is fantastic, part of the one of our focus areas as well. And there's so much more on there. Again, we can't actually fit it on one slide. So I'm just going to have a look here, and you can see, oh, there's just a few more. I'll bring your attention to Design and Art Australia Online, which is a fantastic tool for doing biographical data research for Australian artists and designers and more. So you can see that I've also put a little love heart there on the Language Data Commons of Australia. That's where you'll find the LADAL tools. You'll find them there on the Language Data Commons of Australia website. And I really recommend that you have a much greater deep dive into the Language Data Commons of Australia website. And there's so much more there as well. So I do recommend that you have a look. And if you do have a look at the Language Data Commons of Australia website, there's three things, so that's three more love hearts that I would love you to have a look at. So there's the data portal, which is fantastic. We will look at that shortly. LADAL, we've already seen those tools, so we can see those there. And also Crato, which we'll have a very brief look at next as well. Okay, so if you click on the data portal, you'll have a look here. And this is what the data portal looks like. So it includes guides and tutorials and much, much more to help you use all sorts of available materials on there. So it teaches you how to use it as well as while you're using it, which is fantastic. So there's over 25 odd index entries, and that includes things like collections and objects and files and notebooks. And just to help you navigate, just from what you can see here on the slide, the logo will return you to the home page to access some of the main features of the portal. The collections section will filter the results section of the main panel so that only collections are shown. So that will exclude things like objects and files and notebooks and more. So the notebook section filters the results of the main section so that only Jupyter notebooks can be seen, and the browse section will reset your results to the default settings. And the login takes you back to the CI login page where you can log in to apply for access to collections that require access. And the help will talk you through how to use the data portal itself as well. So, and also the information just for this slide has taken from the help data guide as well. So you can have a look there if you need some extra help. And again, we've already discussed the LADAL tools, but this is what it looks like if you approach it from the LADAL section there. So we've already seen those. And just to recap that you don't need to be a HASS researcher to use a HASS tool. So it's very useful to any discipline that works with text. So we'd love you to have a look at those. And Crato is really great for if you're working with collections. So it's a browser-based editor for research object crates, and it is a flexible, developer-friendly approach to linked data description and packaging. And you can do things like describe files on a user's computer, add contextual information about those files. You can describe abstract and contextual entities such as a cultural collection or encyclopedia. You can annotate existing resources from anywhere on the web, and you can also do things like bulk import metadata from things like an Excel spreadsheet. And they also do a great, there's some great hacky hours as well, so you can head along and meet the people working in the RO Create community. It's really fantastic. So I recommend you have a look. And if you're interested in using it, look at the user guide. And if you need some help, do reach out to the Language Data Commons of Australia as well. So it's a really fantastic set of tools and resources available. Okay, so we're almost at the end, but wait, there's more. There's always more. So this is a way to keep up to date and also to get a free guide that will walk you through a lot of the tools and services that are available for your research, for your HASS research. And you've got a series of 5 easy to digest email updates. So they'll get sent to you one every week over 5 weeks. It's a really good way to do a self-paced exploration of some of the tools and data sets available through the HASS and Indigenous Research Data Commons. And here are a whole lot of events that are coming up. So I'd love to just bring your attention to these. So we've got the annual symposium of the HASS and Indigenous Research Data Commons. It's in Sydney, it's free. You can click on that link and register. You can attend online or in person. So if you can't make it to Sydney, you can attend online. There's also an amazing panel discussion between the HASS and Indigenous, RDC, as well as the Australian Academy of the Humanities. So have a look at that on that registration page for the symposium. And the Australian Academy of the Humanities in the same week in Sydney is having its own symposium as well. So please have a look at that link there. And if you'd like to register, you could attend two fantastic events within the same week. And in December, there is a fantastic digital humanities conference. So if digital humanities and tools are of interest to you, please do have a look at that link and head along and join us there. The fantastic team from the Language Data Commons of Australia will be presenting some workshops and delivering some great talks, showcasing some of the tools that we've just briefly looked at today. So you can get a bit of hands-on experience. And if hands-on experience in using the tools is something that that you'd like to do and explore more, please come along to our HASS and Indigenous Research Data Commons Summer School. So the Summer School is fantastic. It teaches you how to use a lot of the tools across the 6 focus areas of the HASS and Indigenous Research Data Commons. The information and registration link has only just come up this week, so it's available now. So do click on there and have a look. And also keep an eye out next year for our Indigenous Data Governance Masterclass. We're hoping to run that about mid-year next year as well. So do have a look, and we're hoping that you'd like to join us at one of these events soon. And the last time I've presented a presentation similar to this, people did ask me if there were some case studies. So I have 2 treats for you today, and that is there's these 2 fantastic articles that have been released using text analysis tools that have been made available through LDACA and ARDC. And one of them is that unparliamentary? And it analyses a century of Australian political speech. It's really fantastic, and it looks at how unparliamentary language in Australia's federal parliament has changed over more than a century, reveals all sorts of great stuff. So have a look at that link. It'll be available through your slides as well. And one that's done so well online is Oh Bleep, which country swears the most online? And you guessed it, it is about swearing, and it is about, has been created using text analysis tools and research, and it reveals a lot about which country swears the most online. So it's really great, really fun articles. So hopefully you do find those 2 articles enjoyable. So we're about at the end now, but if you'd like to register to keep up to date for all opportunities and news from the HASS and Indigenous Research Data Commons, please do scan on this QR code. It'll be available through your slides as well when I do send them, so do have a look. And this is the person version of the purple tab. This will take you to the resources for researchers pages, where you can scan this QR code and navigate down to the sort of yellow gold themed resources for HASS and Indigenous research. Oh, so that's about it. So we've made it all the way to the end. Thank you so much for lasting this long all the way through. So we've looked at the ARDC pages for HASS research. We've looked at overview of some tools, platforms and services and keeping up to date and ways to participate. And we'd love you to meet us next week if you can make it at the symposium and keep in touch. So if there's any questions, we'd love to have them. Okay, great. Right. And are there any questions from the group? Oh, thanks, Mia. Please feel free to unmute yourselves if you can. If you can't, sing out in the chat and I can unmute you. I'll leave it for a minute or two. But yes, thanks everyone for coming along. It's been lovely to have you with us. And oh, I'm still recording, so hang on, I'll just stop the recording. Sorry about that.